At this point, I don't even care if it works out or not. That's good enough for me. Oops, scared the cat. All right, so today I'm ranking all original 62 Goosebumps books. I started this 2.5 years ago, and it took me quite a while to finish them all. I think it started over like a Thanksgiving break. You're gonna hear cats in the background. I think it started over Thanksgiving break. I was just tired of playing Call of Duty, which is like kind of funny to say. So then I just started rereading them because when I was in elementary school, I read them all the time to get AR points. So they were worth 3 AR points each. I could finish it in a day. Go back to the library, get another one. So I was kind of locked in, right? So it's kind of nostalgic reading all of them. Some of them were good, some of them were really bad. Some of them were average, of course. But I ranked them all. What did I rank them on? So the characters are kind of important because some of the characters suck and some of them are like kind of cool. Most of them kind of just suck. The side characters were cool at times. Andy from Monster Blood's one of my favorites. She was cool. But really the thing that mattered to me the most is atmosphere. And going into it, I didn't really know what kind of book I liked. But I do think I like ghost books and camp books. And those ended up kind of being not always my favorite, but I did enjoy them. I also kind of like the urban legend type thing. There are some books in here that really like weren't trying to be scary. They were kind of fun, and like that was fun too. Most of them weren't scary at all, to be honest with you. Most of them you can honestly just predict within like the first 25 pages, which kind of sucks sometimes. But some of them you really couldn't. Some of them you knew what it was going to end, how it was going to end, but it still was really good how it got there, which means it was pretty well written. So, that being said, I'll get into it. I'll start with number 62. I'm not going to add any things. I'm just going to say it. Number 62 is book 10, The Ghost Next Door, which contradicts everything I just said about ghosts kind of being my like favorite type of thing. So, off to the side, I'll have a little synopsis of what my thoughts on the book were directly after I read it. So, basically, a new family recently moved next into our main characters' Hannah's neighborhood, so they're neighbors, right? Strange things have been happening. Hannah eventually thinks Danny is a ghost, right? Danny being the neighbor. When in reality, Hannah actually ends up being the ghost, right? Which is why like she suddenly like remembers Danny all of a sudden. Turns out Danny's been there for a minute. Hannah just now remembered him because she died, right? She's a ghost, dude. She doesn't know it. But she saves Danny from a fire, and throughout the whole book, she like keeps on having this nightmare about a fire. So then after that happens, she floats to heaven. Instead of going to the shadow world. I kid you not, the shadow world. So this book just was sad. It didn't like, there's no good atmosphere. Like there was no good mystery to me. I kind of knew the ending already. And it was literally just a girl thinking this dude is a ghost, and it turns out she's a ghost. That's it. It's sad. Maybe it has some suspense. I don't know. I don't even remember that well because I read this like 2 years ago. I remember hating it, right? I actually stopped reading books. The Goosebumps books because of this book for a while. I also didn't want to read the next one that's coming up as well. So yeah, did not like this book. The characters weren't bad. I just didn't like the atmosphere. It wasn't for me. So, yep. Next up, Be Careful What You Wish For. This protagonist, her name is Samantha, is the dumbest protagonist in the entire series. I kid you not. So Samantha is a tall klutz who gets bullied by Judith. Shout out Judith. Samantha deserved it. So Samantha randomly meets a witch on her walk home or something, right? She gets 4 wishes. The first one being the strongest person on the basketball team, which just makes everybody else a lot weaker. Number 2 is to make Judith disappear. And then number 3 was to make Judith come back, but basically think Samantha's like the best person ever. And then Judith won't leave her alone. And then 4th wish, she wishes that she never met the witch and that Judith met her instead. And the ending of the book is Samantha flying away because Judith wished that Samantha was a bird because her last name is Bird. I think Samantha Bird. Yeah. So this is just the stupidest protagonist ever. And it was just really annoying to read because of that, honestly. So that's number 62. That was book 12. Number 60 was book number 61. I Live in Your Basement. I wish it would have been 61. I just read this one, And at this point, you can tell Stein was just trying to push the books out. He was just trying to get them all out there. This book was stupid. Basically, Marco, mom, just not let him do anything, right? She warns him of bad stuff happening all the time with germs and stuff like that. Well, he goes and plays baseball, and then Gwynny hits him in the head with a bat. He gets knocked out, blah, blah, blah. Basically, the entire thing is like, he gets a concussion, but then wakes up and like he's in a different, not a different world, but like has a different life. Like Gwynny's all of a sudden his sister and whatnot. This happens like 5 times. It was really annoying. I guess it highlighted the dangers of a concussion and CTE, I guess, but eventually, like in his like dreams or whatever, this monster keeps popping up at the end of it, and then he wakes up. The twist ending was he wakes up in the basement, and then starts turning into the monster, and then whatever. Like truthfully, this book sucked. It wasn't creepy at all. It was kind of dumb. I didn't see the ending coming, I guess, but I didn't care to see the ending coming. I didn't want to. So that's number 60. Number 59 is book number 23, Return of the Mummy. I don't necessarily love like the Egyptian themes, but if it's done right, it's good. This wasn't done right. So we get the return of Gabe and Sarah, or Sarai, I don't know. They go back to Egypt with their Uncle Dr. Ben. I like Uncle Dr. Ben for the summer. Ben pretty much discovered that the famous prince's tomb that they're excavating is cursed. Nyla is a journalist, but turns out she's just like Egyptian, was like a descendant of the prince. Or from ancient Egypt. And basically the curse was like, if you wake the mummy up from his sleep, he's like, he's going to kill you. And then Nyla wakes up the prince from his sleep, and then the mummy kills Nyla. Like, I don't know. It was just way too predictable. Like, from the whole entire jump, you knew Nyla was pretty much just there to wake the prince up. And it just was bad. Predictable, way too predictable. And not in a good way either. Next is book 54, number 58 on my ranking, Don't Go to Sleep. Basically, Matt gets bullied by his older brother and his sister Greg. It's kind of funny. Greg has been recording him for a school project. Maybe that's where they took inspiration from Goosebumps The Vanishing, especially because the dude's name is Matt. Matt has a small room, wants a new one. He sleeps in his guest room one night, and he's put into an alternate dimension. He's getting chased by reality police, and he lives a different life, blah, blah, blah. It's boring. He eventually goes back to his original reality by sleeping in his own bed, which fixes everything apparently, but then the twist at the end is his mom moved his bed to the guest bedroom. So it's whatever. The best part of the entire thing was that the 2 reality police guys, there was 3 of them, I forgot the girl's name, but the 2 like henchmen names were Bruce and Wayne, which was kind of funny, so shout out R.L. Stein for that. This cover, I didn't comment on the covers. The last few covers like weren't good anyways. I do kind of like this cover, even though it doesn't pertain anything to the story. I like the purple and green color scheme. So number 57 on my list is book 13. So books 10, 12, and 13 I dislike. However, this was ranked at the bottom of my list for a long time. But at the very beginning of Goosebumps, I feel like a lot of the books were serious. This is the first like kind of non-serious book. So Jerry and his mom and his dad go to a new town. They find a piano in the house. It's haunted. His parents think that Jerry's crazy. He's kind of like schizophrenic or whatever because there's like a ghost. But so he goes to these piano lessons, and his piano instructor ends up being a robot controlled by the janitor, Mr. Toggle. And then an army of ghosts carry Mr. Toggle into the woods. And that's kind of how it ends, right? In like looking back at it, I like the cover a lot, but looking back on it, it's just kind of a funny book. I read it when I was taking it serious, and it wasn't serious at all. And I think R.L. Stein was meaning for it to be serious, which is why the tone came across that way, which is like kind of bad. So yeah, not for me. However, I do see the humor in it now. So it went up a few spots when I was like, for the most part, I didn't change any rankings. I ranked them as I go directly after I read them. But a few of them I did change, and that was one of them. So next on our list is going to be number 56 in my rankings, book 34, Revenge of the Lawn Gnomes. I love this cover. Well, I don't love it, but I don't like the yellow color and orange color, but the actual picture itself is pretty nice. This is kind of just like a Night of the Living Dummy book, in my opinion, which I'm not that big of a fan of. So Joe, Mindy, and their dad are always gardening. They're in a gardening competition with their neighbors, Moose and Mr. McCall. They basically get these lawn gnomes. The lawn gnomes start terrorizing everything. Joe gets like blamed for it, blah, blah, blah. And then they're like mischief gnomes or something. And then at the end of it, Joe and Moose like believe them to go help them. They're literally called like mischief gnomes, I'm pretty sure, right? Yeah. So like they ended up like finding a whistle to put the gnomes to sleep. I even think R.L. Stine said he did not like the ending of this book. And I don't blame him because it kind of sucked. And I'm not just the biggest fan of the type of story where the parents just don't listen to the kid and like kind of think they're crazy and bad things are happening. It makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable, you know? So number 55 on the rankings, book number 62, Monster Blood 4. Evan, Andy, Kermit, Conan, and the crew are back. Evan's babysitting Kermit again. Andy finds blue monster blood, and then Kermit opens it, and then when they drink water, they start like multiplying, and they just get meaner and meaner. So kind of like Gremlins in a way. I think this is kind of similar to Gremlins in that regard. And eventually, how it all, like, the dust settles and everything, the monsters just eat each other, right? They get so mean, they just start eating each other, and that's how it finishes. Turns out $50 million and 10 years of research was put into this. They were supposed to be underwater, like, battle things, whatever. I was not super impressed. He just needed to write a 4th book, or a 60-second book to finish the series, and this is what he did. Andy wasn't even that good in this one. I disliked Andy in this one. At the end, Conan eats the monster blood and then multiplies when he drinks water, which is kind of funny. But that's it. This one, I probably ranked it too low. So number 54, Stay Out of the Basement. This is obviously book 2 in the series. So Casey and Margaret live with Dr. and Mrs. Brewer. Dr. Brewer is a scientist who created a plant copy of himself and was overpowered by the plant. Margaret finds the real dad and they kill a fake Dr. Brewer, but it might actually just be a plant. I knew the twist ending. I knew the whole story. Not like... It's a good book. I'm just not scared of plants, you know? Like, the atmosphere wasn't that creepy. I think they did it a lot better in this TV show. Yeah, again, yellow. Don't like yellow that much either. So I just wasn't that impressed by it, but I'm sure it's a good book, and I see people rank it like mid at least. This is kind of lower. So yeah, maybe that's me, but I knew the ending, so it was whatever. Next is Say Cheese and Die Again. So it's the same characters as last time. Greg and the crew. Let me see their names. I don't know. Shari. I think Michael's in there maybe. I don't know. Nobody's believing his like Say Cheese and Die story about the camera. And his teacher's basically like, you're an idiot. And then he wants to go prove him wrong and like eventually finds the camera and just starts doing the same thing over and over again, right? I don't know. Greg's brother Terry works at a camera shop and something about positive and negative camera. I don't know what that means. I'm sure somebody who's smarter knows what that means. I wasn't into it. It was whatever. The next day, like, they ended up fixing everything. And Greg wants revenge on Mr. Sour and like wants to go take a picture of Mr. Sour to show him, which I'm about that, right? Like some revenge. I'm with it. But then Mr. Sour takes the camera and then takes a picture of the whole class. So, you know, whatever. I guess like don't try to get revenge. Number 52 on the list is How I Got My Shrunken Head. I have my expectations a little bit higher for this one. It's book number 39. So my issue with this was the book was just incredibly predictable from like the 10th page. So Mark loves the jungle. Carol pulls up, who's like his aunt or something, who's working the jungle. Basically, his aunt and some doctors are like bad people, except for the daughter. And then Mark like works with the daughter to escape. But I don't know. So there was some magic stuff in here too. Whatever. It flowed and it made sense, but it just really wasn't that good. It was just the most predictable book. It never grabbed me. Jungle setting is not my favorite either. It kind of felt like there's a Scooby-Doo episode that kind of felt like, and I just couldn't put my finger on it. I do like Scooby-Doo though. So yeah, this was mid, predictable the whole way in a bad way. Number 51 on the list is book 53, Chicken. One that's kind of hated in the community overall. You see this very low on a lot of rankings. It really wasn't that bad, right? So Crystal and Cole live in this, like, think of like an Ohio rural town, right? A farm town. They have a few friends, but there's this woman named Vanessa who like everybody thinks is a witch. Turns out she is a witch. And like she puts a chicken curse on these kids. And eventually, like, they make their way to Vanessa's house and like they're chickens. And she's like, haha, gotcha. Maybe if you just were polite. And they start talking on a typewriter saying they're sorry, blah, blah, Um, the, the the characters were kind of cool. Bad story overall, but I didn't think it was that bad. At least at the end, like somebody burps and they don't use their manners, and she like puts like a piggy spell. I don't know. Kind of childish, but again, towards the end, he's running out of stories to tell. So all things considered, I do like the kind of little farm back there, and the cover's not terrible. Well, the picture itself is ugly, but like the colors are nice. And again, it's kind of it at least reached expectations for me going into it, so good enough. Number 50 is The Abominable Snowman from Pasadena. The first, like, 2/3 of this book is really good. So, like, the main characters, Jordan and Nicole, they live in California with their photographer dad. They go out to try to take pictures of basically basically a Yeti in Alaska, right? Even though it's not the Yeti, I'm just calling it a Yeti. They get out there, and they meet Arthur. He's just like this country dude. He just does not like people, right? And then Arthur just leaves him because the kids are being stupid, because there's like a giant monster that's like killing people. And Arthur says, peace out. He leaves with his dogs. And then eventually they like get lost and they find the Abominable Snowman, who actually isn't that bad of a guy. However, they take him back to California when he's frozen, right? And I'm sure a Yeti doesn't mind being frozen. And then let me read the rest of this real quick. The snowballs end up being magic from where they were in the cave. Like, they packed it with snow so he'd stay frozen. And when you throw the snowball at somebody, they instantly freeze. So like Nicole gets frozen and they had to open the Yeti up and get him unfrozen. The Yeti then panics and runs away. And then the pictures their dad took to get famous didn't even turn out. So like, literally just a waste of an ending, honestly. The atmosphere before that's cool. I like snow, but it just was a bad book. That's book number 38. I didn't say that at all, I think. Book number 49, My Hairiest Adventure. Really just like, I don't know. It's a school setting, right? They're in the Battle of the Bands against some rich snobs, which is cool. They put on this instant tan lotion, right? It's expired, and then they start growing hair, right? And then like Larry's growing hair, and then like he thinks Lily's growing hair, and then basically Manny and Lily, Manny's another one of their friends, just move out of nowhere, right? They're best friends, they just move out of nowhere, gone, dunzo. They win the battle because during the Battle of the Bands, like, our main character Larry just grows a whole bunch of hair, and it looks sick, I guess. So they give him the win, even though they're not that good. And the ending, turns out every kid in the town is an experiment, right? Every single kid in the town is a part of an experiment where they're actually just all dogs. And they turn the dogs into kids. So that's why they randomly disappeared, because the other kids would have figured out that they're dogs. So, yeah. Maybe some, like, puberty messaging in there. I don't know. I didn't see the twist end coming, which is, like, you know, good. But it wasn't executed really well, because who would have thought that? It didn't go with the story. Whatever, right? Number 48 is book number 55. Again, he's running out of ideas. The Blob That Ate Everyone. Basically, Zachy likes telling his friends Alex and Adam scary stories. Adam always kind of mocks him. Adam's not really his friend. He low-key kind of bullies him. There's twins that also bully him. They go into like a burned down like antique store. They pick up a typewriter. When you type stuff in the typewriter, it turns true. Say cheese and die kind of thing. And Zach's trying to like prove it, and then blah blah blah, and then eventually turns out Zach's the one that's kind of like magic. And then there's a blob monster, and the blob that ate everyone. Bro starts eating everyone, and then at the end of it, it cuts to like these blobs that are typing on a typewriter, and turns out like the blobs were typing the story the entire time. Sure. There's a green blob and let me see if there's anything. They changed the ending to the humans all getting eaten by the blob, which is, you know, whatever. Beginning was so slow. It was fun though, like a fun story. This wasn't a serious story. Whatever. Didn't like it that much. Another fun story, not a serious story, is book number 52, number 47 in my rankings, How I Learned to Fly. So Jack is pretty much just always jealous of this dude named Wilson, right? Like, Wilson's just that dude. He's the popular dude. He wins at everything. He's an athlete. He's smart. They're trying to impress this girl named Mia, who's like that girl too, right? And basically, like, they even go to Mia's birthday party. Jack and Wilson do. And Wilson gets her concert tickets. These dudes are 10. Like, why are we getting the girls' concert tickets when we're 10 years old? They might be older than 10. I'm saying 10. Too young to be getting concert tickets, right? Eventually Jack finds a book in an old house he ran away to that teaches him how to fly. And then he flies, but then Wilson saw him flying, so he steals the book. And so Jack's like, "I'm gonna race you, Wilson." And then Wilson like flies too, and Mia's like, "Whoa!" So because Wilson's faster, and then they race at school, and then they both get super famous, right? And Jack doesn't like being famous, but Wilson's like kind of all into it. So they're supposed to race for like $1 million with a Hollywood sign. And Jack's like, "Nah, like I can't fly anymore. I lost my powers." Turns out he still definitely can do it, but he just doesn't want to because he didn't like the fame, which is like, that's a good message. And he feels bad for Wilson at the end of it because Wilson's probably going to live the rest of his life just like in the spotlight, not really have any friends. So not a bad message either. Fun book, nothing super serious. Whatever. Number 46 is book number 6. I maybe rated this too low. I put Let's Get Invisible. So it's Max's birthday. They find a magic mirror in their attic. It basically like it's a mirror world type of thing. Which, and whenever this book came out in the 1990s or early 2000s, I'm sure that was like kind of maybe even a newer thing, right? 1993 is when this came out. I'm sure it wasn't even a newer thing, right? I'm sure mirror worlds have been done, but they haven't been overplayed. We've seen a lot of mirror worlds at this point. It was just repetitive the entire time, truthfully. They keep on going back to the mirror. Just don't go to the mirror, right? Eventually, his little brother named Lefty, like, it's all done. They break the mirror, blah, blah, blah. And then he's passing ball with his brother in his backyard, and Lefty throws it with his right hand, and that's how the book ends. Again, I kind of liked Max as a main character in this one, but everybody else is kind of stupid. I don't even remember their names, but they're just dumb, and they didn't really learn from their lessons. Now, this book, a lot of people were a fan of this book. I mentioned this earlier, Avenger of Law Gnomes. I don't like this type of story. Night of the Living Dummy 1. So this focuses on Mr. Wood instead of Slappy. The ending, of course, Slappy comes back in the end. Whatever. So Lindy and Chris are sisters, and basically one of them's better than the other at everything. And so one tries to be ventriloquist, and then they find like the Karoom, whatever language in Mr. Wood's pocket. It wakes both the dummies up. Mr. Wood starts wreaking havoc. They're at like she's doing a birthday party, and Mr. Wood just like freaks out on everybody and starts like making fun of people, and then Chris gets blamed for it. I don't like that kind of thing, man. I feel bad for the kids. Eventually like something crushes Mr. Wood, and then they get back to the room, and Slappy's like, "You're under new management." He didn't say that, but like, it's a quote somewhere. So yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of dummy books. I knew the ending. This cover is kind of iconic though. It's like a yellow-green with like an orange-red type of thing. I do like the cover. I do like Slappy. He's really not in this one that much. So yeah, just kind of mid. Not the biggest fan. Here we go. Monster Blood 2, right? Book number 18, ranking number 44 on my list. Evan moves to Atlanta, right? He gets bullied by Conan, and Mr. Murphy bullies him too, who's like has his pet hamster. Andy also moves to Atlanta randomly and goes to the same school. Do you know how big Atlanta is? I guess R.L. Stine didn't. So, whatever. Basically, Andy makes fun of Evan for telling kids about Monster Blood, which is the appropriate thing to do because who is going to believe Evan? Basically, Conan steals the Monster Blood because Andy brought some for some reason. Wait, no. No, she brought her own Monster Blood. Conan steals it. They steal it back. Andy feeds it to Cuddles for whatever reason. Cuddles being the hamster. And then Cuddles starts terrorizing everybody. And then Cuddles like messes Conan up, beats him up, and then the Monster Blood expires. Like there's an expiration date on it. And then Cuddles shrinks back down. Like, cop-out ending, bad ending. Not the biggest fan of Monster Blood books. And here we go. Number 43, book number 3. It's the original Monster Blood. Andy's performance in this is fantastic. Shout out Andy. Evan moves in with his aunt, Catherine, who is deaf. Evan has a dog named Trigger, and the aunt has a cat named Sarah Beth. Evan meets Andy. They're besties. They find Monster Blood. Trigger eats some. The dog eats some. Trigger and his Monster Blood grow uncontrollably. Monster Blood comes alive and eats these Baymore twins. Don't know who those people are at this point in time, but they get eaten by the Monster Blood. Sarah Beth is actually a witch disguised as a cat and is trying to kill everyone using the Monster Blood, but Trigger pushes Sarah Beth into the Monster Blood, and that's that. That's just how it ends. Again, mid. Very mid. Not the biggest fan. I do like those characters, though. It is nice seeing recurring characters in this series. Here's a book that is fun. The ending of this book sucks, but it's a fun book. Go Eat Worms. So Todd, I do like his main character. He loves worms, and he likes to pull pranks on his best friend Danny and his sister Regina, right? And her best friend Beth. Science fair is coming up, and Todd's doing a project on worms. But the rich kid, Patrick, stole the show with a worm skyscraper. Basically, he was like bringing worms and like his, what's it called, ecosystem in this little glass. That dude Patrick made a skyscraper, which is actually pretty cool. If you're rich, you can do that. But in the 90s, I'm sure that would have done some numbers, right? Basically, Danny wins somehow with some computer thing or solar system thing, but Todd ruined Regina's project by putting worms in it, which I don't remember happening. But then worms start appearing everywhere, and Todd thinks the worms are actually getting revenge because he killed one or something like that. At the end, Regina's like, nah, it's just me. You're stupid, which is fair. Shout out Regina. But then a giant hole opens up. Throughout the book, there's like mentionings of rumbles. A giant hole opens up in the earth, and a giant worm tries to eat Todd, but doesn't because a big bird gets the worm. Ending is weird. Just didn't like it that much. But it was fun. Like the first like 2/3 of this book is like basically just siblings getting at each other, which is like, you know, a little bit nostalgic. Even though my sister did not like me growing up. Shout out Anna though. She likes me now. Oh, finally. Look how this worked. Book number 41 is also 41 on my ranking. Bad Hair Day. So Tim likes doing magic, right? His sister Jenny likes like basically ruining his magic tricks, right? So screw Jenny. I didn't like Jenny. Tim is okay though. Tim sneaks out to watch his favorite magician, the Amazo. Tim, after the Amazo's kind of mean to him, steals the magic box. Excuse me. Magic bag. It goes wrong, you know, some stuff starts happening with the magic, blah, blah, blah. And then Tim goes to return it. Turns out Amazo is actually just the bunny. And Ginny turned into a rabbit somewhere in there, which was very fun because I didn't like Ginny. So, like, if that didn't happen, this book would be a lot lower. But I'm petty, so I don't like Ginny. And eventually, Tim wants to be the new Amazo, and Amazo's like, really? So he ends up being the new Amazo, or ends up being a rabbit in Amazo's show, or he is the new Amazo. I'm not sure. I forget. But, you know, he gets his wish and he enjoys it. And he's like, being a rabbit's not that bad. Whatever. All right. Number 40 on the list. It's an urban legend type thing. We got Legend of the Lost Legend. Basically, these kids are in Brovania with their father who's searching for the lost legend. They get lost from their father. They go to this village and find, I'm saying her name's Helga, but it's not Helga. Ivana. And Ivana's like the Viking here and is like, nah, like you need to do this to get this. And they go through like these trials and like they're playing fun games and avoiding things. Steve French, you get out of here, bud. I don't need you up here. It's my brother's cat. So, I don't know. They go through this fantasy forest, whatever. It turns out Ivana's like a robot or something. And then Luca rewards them with a silver chest containing the eternal egg of truth. That's not what they were looking for, though. So the siblings return it. They return an egg that like tells them the truth to whatever they want. You can figure out which religion to believe in. So you go to heaven. No, they just give it back, right? And then they tell Luca, we're looking for the Legend of the Lost Legend or whatever, right? They go and find it. Luca tells them where to find it. They go and find it. And then they're given, the people who have the legend, give it to them. We're like, here you go. Like, leave us. And then the paper says whoever owns the lost legend will be lost forever, and soon realize that they will be lost forever until somebody comes and finds it. I knew the ending. Not that bad, though. Not as bad as I was thinking. So, what is next? Number 39 is book number 5, Curse of the Mummy's Tomb. So we have Gabe and Sarai. They go to the pyramids. Ben's working on discovering a new tunnel. They play practical jokes on each other. They go back to the hotel the next day. And Ahmad tries to kidnap them. They go back to the pyramid. They get separated. Ahmad tries to mummify all of them, but Gabe uses the mummy hand to bring the mummies back to stop Ahmad. This is basically just an Egyptian adventure type thing with the pyramids. Kind of boring. The villain was Ahmad the entire time. which like I guess is cool, but like Curse of the Mummy's Tomb. So like, but Gabe has this like mummy's hand that brings all the mummies alive. I just didn't like. I just wish it would have been more like mummy centered, you know? Like it was more Ahmad was the villain, and then like the one before this, the mummy wasn't the villain either. Was Nyla. So like, not my thing. I haven't been saying the ratings throughout all of this. Oh wow, my bad. Ghost of Next Door 2.3. Be careful what you wish for 4.3. Live Live in Your Basement 4.4. Return of the Mummy 4.5. Don't Go to Sleep 4.6. Piano Lessons Can Be Murdered 4.8. Revenge of the Lawn Gnomes 4.9. Monster Blood 4. 5/10. 5 out of 10. I didn't write that down. Stay Out of the Basement 5 out of 10. Average. Say Cheese and Die. Again, a little bit above average. 5.1. How I Got My Shrunken Head 5.1. Predictable. Chicken 5.2. Just a little bit better. Bottomless Swimming of Pasadena 5.2. Those are about the same for me. My Harriet's Adventure 5.3. I like the school atmosphere. Bob the Ate Everyone 5.3. How I Learned to Fly 5.4 was fun, which I appreciate. It doesn't take itself too serious. And Toward the End, which is a good type of series. Let's Get Invisible, just repetitive. Kind of like How I Learned to Fly. Wilson's just beating him the whole time. Let's Get Invisible. They just go into the mirror the whole time. Night of the Living Dummy 5.6. I do think there's a tiny bit of a jump in that. Monster Blood 2 5.7. Monster Blood 5.7. They're just the same for me. Go Eat Worms. It's a big jump up because it's not a serious book and doesn't take itself serious. I'm going to talk while I walk. So I put that as a 6.1. Bad Hair Day is a 6.2. And then there's a jump to 6.4 for Legend of the Lost Legend. Because I think it's a little bit of a better book than a 6.3. I had no scale I ranked these on besides that if I liked them, I put them there. And you got to live with that. And then a big jump from Legend of the Lost Legend to The Curse of the Mummy's Tomb. Went from a 6.4 to a 6.8. I do think Curse of the Mummy's Tomb is good, right? Well, not good. I think it's above average. And there's another jump to number 38 on the list, book number 57, The Best Friend's Invisible. So Sammy basically is the odd one in the family. His mom, dad, and brother are like super serious, like scientist research type things. And he's into sci-fi. The cover's colorful. Don't like yellow and orange together at all, or really in general. Basically, there's this dude. His name's Brent. He's invisible. He tries to help, doesn't help, and then parents are like, "You're low-key schizophrenic, bro. Like, go seek help." But then like they have this molecule detector, and he eventually finds Brent and like shines the molecule detector on him, and they're like, "Oh, he has hair, he has skin, blah blah blah." Bro's a human. Brent's a human, right? Turns out everybody else is like tentacles and everything, and the dad's like, "Nah, I've seen a human in a zoo before." So like, rip Brent. I guess he's gonna go to a zoo. Yeah, I had that 7.1. The ending was like the twist ending. I didn't see coming. It didn't make that much sense, but like it was fun enough. Number 37 on my list is Deep Trouble 2. Deep Trouble 2. Billy, Sheena, and Dr. D are back. The gist of the story is stuff in the ocean is larger than it should be, so the fishies and the sharks are huge, right? Giant snails, jellyfish, like his goldfish turned huge. Dr. Ritter and his two henchmen, Mel and Adam, basically been experimenting with like growth hormone and plankton. So everything's been getting big, but he doesn't let them go because blah, 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 blah. And eventually they escape to an island, and then a dolphin drags them back to the boat. But then Dr. Ritter is there and is like, "Nah, y'all, if y'all eat this plankton, y'all finna turn into fish." And then Billy's like, "All right, bet." So he drinks this like plankton, but is actually just sweet tea or something because like he wanted to pull a prank on Sheena. And then Dr. Ritter's like, "Nah, that's impossible. Like, my experiments don't mess up. I'm gonna drink the plankton." And then he turns into a fish. Book over. I rate that a 7.2 out of 10. I do like Billy, Sheena, and Dr. D as a trio. That's a really good trio in my opinion. They have a Horrorland book, which I think I like better. Because the two Deep Trouble books not necessarily have to do with scary things. They have to do with people, which is sometimes scarier than scary things. Next up is book number 17, ranking number 36 on my list, Why I'm Afraid of Bees. I really like Gary as a main character. Gary Lutz, everybody picks on him, right? In the first 25 pages, I genuinely felt bad for the dude because he's just getting bullied. He has a bullyable face, to be honest with you. So I feel bad. There's a program that lets people change lives with somebody for a week. That's insane technology. I don't know how we like got to that point. That's crazy to me. He gets put in a bee's body because when he does it, there's a bee in the room, right? So he like lives as a bee for a little bit, and not like this book is not serious, right? He was supposed to change lives with Dirk, and Dirk turned into Gary. Turns out Dirk turned Gary's life around and just does not want to switch back, right? Apparently Dirk had it worse, but then Gary's like, nah, please, and then Dirk changes his mind. It was a playful story. It was kind of anticlimactic because it eventually changed back. It wasn't serious, and unserious books can't get ranked that high, but it's a fun read and it wasn't that scary unless you're really scared of bees. So this book, I probably ranked too low. Number 35 on my list, Say Cheese and Die, which is book number 4. I read this ages ago, right? I rated it a 7.3 out of 10, and it hadn't changed, and it probably should be higher. So Greg, Berg, Sherry, and Michael sneak into the old Kaufman house. They find a camera. The camera takes pictures of terrible things happening in the future, takes a picture of Sherry at a birthday party. She disappears. Spidey, who's in charge of the Kaufman house, he's creepy, tries to see the camera back. Sherry comes back. She goes with Greg to the Kaufman house. Spidey's in there. They kill Spidey by taking a picture of him, and then they leave the camera in there. They just kept on taking pictures, bro. Like, the first time this happens, they gotta be like, yo, like, why do we keep doing this? Like, maybe even the second time, just a little test, what's gonna happen? Take a picture of a tree. Why are we taking pictures of each other if this is happening? So that's kind of why I don't like it. But I do like the characters, and the concept is cool, especially because it's the 4th book, and I hadn't read any other concepts like that. The cover, fire, right? Fire cover. Picture in the middle is nice. Blue and red is cool. So 7.3 out of 10. This book, I think, gets a little bit too much hate. I do hate the cover, though. I don't hate it that much. Book number 32, which is number 34 on my ranking, is The Barking Ghost. So The Barking Ghost, Cooper and his family move into a new town. That's how like half of these books start. Cooper scares super easily. Scaredy cat alert. He hears things at night, mostly just dogs barking, right? He meets a neighbor, Fergie, who's like odd. Kind of an odd one, right? Name is Fergie. So Fergie spends the night, also sees the dogs, right? But like, this whole time Cooper's been telling his parents and his older brother Mickey. His older brother Mickey is actually so funny. He just plays pranks on him all the time, right? Basically bullies the kid. But it's funny because Cooper kind of deserves it, right? Basically these dogs, when Fergie and Cooper go to catch them, because the parents are calling him schizophrenic, and he's like, nah, I'm not. So he goes to catch these dogs. The dogs drag him into the woods, into a shack, and they change places with the dogs. Kind of like the bee, Why I'm Afraid of Bees. They change places with the dogs, and then they work to get, like, they try to get the dogs back into the shed, and they eventually get the dogs back into the shed where they change, but they end up changing into squirrels, because squirrels were in there too. 7.4 out of 10. I didn't really see where this book was, like, going. I didn't see the ending coming, and the twist ending, like, goes with the book, which makes sense, which is why I like it. The atmosphere on it is not the best, and they kind of make fun of her being schizophrenic. So, like, that ain't cool, but, ranking 33rd on my list, almost to the halfway point, is book number 29. I think this is the best of the Monster Blood series. So, Evan, this is the first time we see Kermit. So, Evan babysits Kermit. Kermit, I just hate Kermit, right? He just always gets Evan in trouble. Conan makes a return. He beats Evan up. Shout out Conan. Andy's back. She wants to teach Kermit a lesson with Monster Blood. Why are we doing this, Andy? You used to be so smart. Now we're stupid, right? Fall off was crazy. Basically, they're doing, like, teaching Kermit a lesson by experimenting with Monster Blood in his lab. Explodes, it gets into Evan's mouth. He grows super large, and the police are chasing him around town. Eventually, he shrinks back because Kermit finds a cure. Blah, right? The best of the Monster Blood books so far. I finally a Human ate one. Sure, right? Book number 32, which is number 31. Ranking number 32, book number 31 is Night of the Living Dummy 2. So this is the first Slappy-centered book. The cover is really cool, watermelon type thing, and the picture in the middle is kind of creepy as well. So, Amy Kramer performs her precocious dummy Dennis at the Family Talent Show. Dennis' head falls off, right? So she gets a new dummy. Slappy does his thing. It basically just ruining all these plays. Amy's getting blamed for it. I hate that. I really do. And then her sister doesn't believe her, right? And then eventually, like, Slappy sneaks into the sister's room because Slappy's been destroying the room and Amy's been getting blamed for it. And then the sister finally sees Slappy doing it, but she doesn't say anything. She's like, nah, like, it's still Amy because she's scared. Which is, like, cruel. But they eventually figured out, how does this end? They destroy him. But like they really didn't. Who knows, right? Somebody ended up getting the dummy at the end. I forgot how it ends. Halfway point. Book number 46, ranking 31 in my ranking. Since we're halfway, I'm going to make sure that we're still recording. Oh, we're 40 minutes in. Oh, no. Oh, no. So, book number 31, How I Kill a Monster. We might have to cut this into 2 parts. We're going to do that. Here's the kind of setup I have going on right now. But yeah, we're going to just hop straight back into it. Lighting good and everything. I don't care. Number 31 on my rankings. I couldn't figure it out. Number 31 on my rankings is book number 46. I have 10 gigabytes left on my phone, so we're good. Book number 46, Gretchen and Clark, or How to Kill a Monster. Gretchen and Clark, basically they're staying with their grandparents. Crazy things happen. There's like a monster upstairs and they figure it out, but the grandparents leave and they kind of let the monster out or something. They not supposed to go in the forbidden room. They go in the forbidden room. The monster chases. It's like a Louisiana bayou, like swamp mansion type of thing in the middle of nowhere. This monster like escapes, blah, blah, blah. Turns out that the monster is like allergic to humans. So like the monster like licks or bites one of the people and then dies. And then the grandparents still aren't home and they go out into the woods and then there's like monsters in the woods. Like very forgettable book, honestly. However, the cover's cool, pink cotton candy. And then the monster kind of right there. It goes well with the book actually. So I don't mind it. So now we're in the top half. That was 7.6 out of 10. Night Living Dummy 2 was 7.6. Monster Blood 3, 7.5. Barking Ghost, 7.3. Say Cheese and Die, I told you. So, number 30 is one of the ones that suffered from the same fate as Say Cheese and Die. Welcome to the Dead House. This should be probably ranked higher, but I read this obviously early on. It's number 1 in the series in terms of when it was released. So Amanda, this is how short. I literally have 2 sentences. Amanda and Josh move into Dark Falls with their parents and Petey, who's a dog. Everyone in Dark Falls is dead, trying to sacrifice Amanda's family for blood, but Amanda's family escapes. That's all I got, right? There's a scene where like there's like an amphitheater or something. Petey like gets lost. It's a really good atmosphere. This should be higher. But I'm not rereading it, and this is what I had it rated probably since day 1. So I can't rate this any higher. It should be. The cover is fantastic. Dark Falls. Why are we going there, to be honest with you? I have it at 7.7 out of 10. I think it's a class. This is one of the ones I'll eventually probably reread. I don't plan on rereading anytime soon. My next book plan is to read all the Harry Potters, go and read all the Goosebumps 2000s, go and read Game of Thrones, read all of Horrorland, go read Lord of the Rings. That's what I have on my plate right now. That's not going to happen anytime in the next 2 years. So I'll get back to rereading this eventually one day. That's on me, though. Should have ranked it higher. Number 29 is book number 16, One Day at Horrorland. This missed the mark, honestly. I love the Horrorland series, but the Morrises, Lizzie and Luke, and then plus Clay, which is like Luke's best friend, they get lost on the way to the amusement park, but they find Horrorland instead, right? They're going into Horrorland. Their car blows up, like explodes. If my car exploded, I would not be going to a random theme park called Horrorland. I'm just not, right? So they go to this random theme park. Luke likes pinching people, by the way. That's important for later on. The rides like basically make you feel like you're going to die. And at the end of the night, they get locked in, right? Like there's an eternal slide of doom, which like slides forever. That's a good scene. There's like a coffin ride where like all of them are in a coffin, just kind of stuck for like a vampire. Just going through a river. It's cool. Then at the end, they get chased by these monsters. And they eventually get caught and they're like about to get thrown into a lake with monsters or something. I don't remember, truthfully. Basically, Luke starts pinching these guys and they escape on a Horrorland bus, bro. Like, it was kind of everywhere. Great setting, though. The horrors are cool. The rides are cool. The ending is stupid and the beginning is stupid, right? Middle part of this is good. From here on out, there's really no like bad parts. Just kind of stupid ones. But like, if you're at 7.9, which is what this is, like at least 2/3 of the book I thought was good enough. So that's why this ranks 29 on my rankings. what is next? Number 28 is one I actually re-ranked. So I have this ranked the same as Horrorland. It's 7.9 on the scale. I just think this is a little bit more cohesive. Deep Trouble, which is book number 19. So Billy and Sheena, I like these characters. And Dr. D, they go out and they're with him, right, on his boat, Cassandra. I didn't mention that last one. I should have. Alexander is a student on the boat, and he works with Dr. D, right? Billy's scuba diving. He sees a sea monster. Nobody believes him because he didn't see one, right? Billy's scuba diving when a monster grabs him. Nobody believes him. Later that night, a zoo pulls up to offer Dr. D $1 million to catch a mermaid, right? The next morning, Billy goes hunting for it, is attacked by a shark, apparently. I don't remember that. But a mermaid saves him. Shout out mermaid. But then they capture the mermaid, which is like messed up. Like, Dr. D, what are we doing? I understand you want money, but he just saved your dog, or he saved your nephew. They catch him. Turns out Alexander's in cahoots with someone else, and they kidnap the mermaid for their own money, right? Eventually, a team of mermaids sets the other mermaid free along with the crew, and probably Alexander and co die because these mermaids are gruesome. The zoo people come back, and they're like, yo, Dr. D, you catch a mermaid. Like, we've been seeing sightings of him. And he's like, nah, I ain't see a mermaid. So he's a real one. The characters in this actually have some depth and have good themes. And when I was reading this early on, there weren't a whole bunch of books so far that had that. So I liked it probably more because of that. And maybe I was feeling like a reader by like looking at the themes and everything. That's not who I am. I read for fun, right? I'm not analyzing this. If you were, this would probably be better, right? So I had to figure out who I was when I was ranking these. It's good though, 7.9. The book, it's just not like nothing too serious. I guess there's a scene in here with this, but again, the moral of the story is don't trust people, which is cool, right? I know that. I want to say don't trust monsters. Speaking of monsters, Egg Monsters from Mars. That's book number 42, number 27 in my ranking. So Dana Johnson is frustrated with her sister Brandy's spoiled behavior. Aren't we all, right? So he discovers a pulsating egg during her birthday Easter egg hunt, right? The egg hatches into this random creature that's like alive, right? I was reading this on the way back home from Louisville, I believe. Shout out Dad. But and Jessica and Gail and Grant and all them. So what happened in this? Oh, Dr. Gray, so he goes to the local lab, Dana does, and it's like, yo, what are these things? And doctor's like, yo, come in, whatever. Yeah, well, that was a mistake because he's been collecting these the egg monsters from Mars. And Dr. Gray's like, yeah, so you really can't leave right now because you're just going to go yap, which he probably would. So he gets stuck there and how does he get out? Basically, all the monsters team up with Dana and attack Dr. Gray. And then Dana arrives to the lab. He arrives to the lab later with his father. Everything's abandoned. Eventually, Dana lays a massive egg or something. Whatever. 2/3 of his book was good. The ending kind of mid. The twist was dumb. I have this at 7.92. So these are the books that I think are good, not great though, right? Good enough is what I think of that book. It Came From Beneath the Sink is up next. This is number 26 on my rankings. It is book number 30. So Kat and her family move into a new house with their dog Killer, and then they discover a strange moving sponge in the cabinet. Basically, her father falls from a ladder. Her friend Carlo injures himself. Bad things happening, and they're going to figure out that it's eventually this sponge thing, right? What's it called? The gruel. They buried the gruel in frustration after the party plans are ruined by a storm because the weather happened, so they blame the gruel. They search for Carlo. Wait, hold on. Their plants start dying. They dig it up. Her mom's a gardener. They give the gruel to Carlos, and then they chase Carlos and then get the gruel back, and then the gruel can't be harmed by violence but can be subdued by kindness, right? Whatever. It was repetitive. Honestly, it should be ranked lower. I would be so real. This book should be ranked lower. I think I read it on a plane, though, which kept me entertained enough. So I have it as an 8 out of 10. This should probably be lower. They're celebrating ice cream, but they figure out a potato-like creature named the Lynx. They had this book that they looked at to figure out what the gruel was, right? that should have been ranked lower, truthfully. Beware of the Snowman. I like this cover. I have it ranked 25th, book number 51. So this is like an urban legend type of thing. I have it rated an 8.0. I'm going to rate it an 8.1. I'm a snow fan. I do like a snow book, right? Like even in Call of Duty, I like the snow maps. I like how they look. The maps are usually terrible. The book, not terrible though. So Jacqueline and her aunt Greta used to live in Chicago, but they moved to Sherpia, which is a village in the Arctic Circle. It's a strange place with snowmen everywhere, like snowmen that look like this, like outside of every yard, snowmen that look like this, right? There's a mountain. Guarding the top of the mountain is this dude named Conrad and his wolfman. Might have been a dog, I don't remember. Basically, her two neighbors, Rolanda and Eli, are like, yo, like don't go past Conan's house because there's like a monster up there, right? And then Conrad, sorry. And so she goes up there eventually because who wouldn't? And there is, in fact, a monster up there, right? Monster's like, yo, I'm actually your father, believe it or not. So then, turns out, Monster was not her father. And Conrad and Aunt Greta, man, he's magic or something. And, like, he's a sorcerer, and he, like, created the monster, but, like, he made him a snowman and put him up there. And then the army of snowmen from the neighbors' houses go up and get him. Kind of a dumb ending, to be honest with you, but I actually did get tricked. I thought the snowman was his father, or was Jacqueline's father, so it tricked me. And I'm like, you know what? Good for you. So I did like the atmosphere of it. The Arctic Circle village, it was kind of creepy. So that's kind of why I liked it. It was more so not the story, but the atmosphere of everything. The twist was cool at the end. Conrad is actually Jacqueline's father, who's a sorcerer. And then I forgot what happened to her mom. Basically kind of remnants of Ghost Beach, which will be later on. Of like, there's a cave, don't go into it type thing. Whatever. Number 24, Rip the Goat. On my list is Shocker on Shocker Street, book number 35. I raised this ranking the more I thought about it. I read 2 books in one night on this one, or whatever book number 36 is, right? I forget. I read 2 books in one night. Hold on, I have time. What was book number 34? Book number 34. Oh, yes, book number 34 is The Haunted Mask. So I read 2 books in one night, one being The Haunted Mask. I read The Haunted Mask first, too. So Aaron and Marty love scary movies, especially the Shock Street movies. Like, the intro was them in a movie theater. I worked at a movie theater. I love movies. I don't love movies. I love working in a movie theater. And her dad does special effects for some of the movies, right? And they made, like, a tour type thing. So basically, it's like a tour of horror movies from the time, right? Which is a cool concept. It's like a trolley cart type of thing. Of course, a tram, sorry. Of course, things go wrong. The monsters, like, kind of end up being real on the tram. They escape off the tram and go to, like, a set where there's, like, a train going through it, and there's, like, a graveyard, and there's zombies, and there's ghosts, and there's, like, robots and stuff like that, werewolves. And at the end, it's revealed that Aaron and Marty are actually robots testing out the tour. I actually wrote in the description, felt like an "and then this happened" book, but the twist at the end was good, and it kind of was "and then this happened." It really didn't have any flow. It was just going throughout the tram, and it got a little bit repetitive, but if I didn't read 2 books in one day, I think I would have liked this a lot more. So that's why I have it at an 8.1 out of 10. I think it was one of the better twist endings that I did not see coming, right? So that's kind of why I enjoyed it. Cool cover. Man, those kind of crisp. The words are kind of crisp. Whatever, right? It was good. So now we're teetering into, like, really good books, not great books. Really good books, I think, is what I would describe this as. Because, like, that ending, yeah, made sense, kind of, but, like, it didn't, like, help the storyline necessarily. Book number 23, rank number 23 is book number 40, Night of the Living Dummy 3. This is the best Night of the Living Dummy book. It doesn't do that stupid ventriloquist act that, where, you know, the person gets in trouble. It's good enough, right? So Trina and Dan like scaring their cousin Zane when he comes into town with their dad's ventriloquist dummies, right? Last time they scared him so much that he didn't even want to come back. And so his dad, before they came in, were like, yo, like, let's not do that this time. they got a new dummy named Smiley, who's actually Slappy, before he came, right? Bad things start happening to Zane, and Trina and Dan get in trouble for it. But turns out they catch Zane doing it. Zane has been the one scaring himself, right? And they figure it out. But after that happens, Slappy actually starts doing the bad things. So now Zane's like, nah, like he didn't even tell his dad he was doing it, but he's like, these people were messing with me, right? And this whole Slappy thing goes on. There's a big fight in the attic, and Trina says the words to try to defeat Slappy, but she wakes all the dummies up, right? All the dummies wake up. But they take Slappy apart, but go limp when Zane like walks upstairs to hear the commotion, right? So they get in big trouble, but then they send Slappy away with Zane, which screws Zane. So I think it was a fantastic ending, right? Because Zane gets Slappy. Cinema, in my opinion, right? Because that's what Zane gets. Oh my gosh. Number 21 in my rankings is book number 28. Maybe even should have been higher. The Cuckoo Clock of Doom. When I tell you that there is not a character that I disliked more than Tara, who is Michael's little sister. I'm just going to read this for you, right? I ChatGPT'd this description because there's a lot that happens in this book. Michael Webster's life is complicated by his bratty, sociopathic sister, Tara, who often lies and gets him in trouble with his parents. After his father buys a mysterious antique cuckoo clock, Michael discovers it has the power to reverse time when he twists the head backwards. When he wakes up on his 12th birthday again, he's reliving the same day over and over again and the past humiliations caused by Tara, including embarrassing moments in front of his crush, right? Time eventually continues to rewind, and he gets regressed all the way back to his childhood. So he becomes a baby eventually, right? Again, which is like, whatever, cool. And so he is trapped, and he's worried he's never going to be able to make it back. Eventually, he manages to reset the clock and return to his 12th birthday. But there's something wrong with the clock. But this time, Tara does not exist. So Tara doesn't exist anymore. Basically, his actions resulted in killing Tara. Who's mad? Because I'm not, right? Like, screw Tara. And R.L. Stine was in an interview one time. He said there was a brother who asked for him to write a book about his little sister who was terrible, right? Imagine being written, modeled after this little evil girl, right? And so he's conflicted. He knows how to revive her, right? He fully knows how to do it. But is he going to do it? It's never answered. I'd like to think he didn't, which is the wrong thing to do. But since it's fiction, that's what I would do. I wouldn't do that to Anna, but if Tara was my sister, I might. Her nickname is Tara the Terrible. All right, number 21, book number 21 is book number 14. This is just The Werewolf of Fever Swamp. It's just a good story, right? They basically moved to a Floridian swamp, Grady and Emily, with their strict parents, or scientist parents, not strict parents. Grady meets Will. He also finds a dog. He names him Wolf, who howls at night. Little on the nose there, R.L. Stine, whatever. Animals start dying. People start blaming Wolf, because Wolf is a big dog, right? And there's this like old man in the forest too. It's just a really put together book. Eventually, like, you kind of realize that the old man in the woods is a red herring, and that Will is actually the werewolf, which it takes a little bit to figure out, whatever. Swamp Hermit is the guy's name. I forgot how it happened, but eventually Grady turns into the werewolf, so he hunts with his dog Wolf at night. Cool story, right? I love the cover. It reminds me of Sierra Mist, right? You know? That's what I imagine Sierra Mist would look like in a can. It's not, I know, but that's what I imagine it looked like. It looks like Mountain Dew. The purple, and it's just a good cover. All around, just good. I would consider this a really good book. Not great. There's nothing that stands out about it, but there's really like no flaws with it. So he cooked with that one, I ain't gonna lie. Number 20, still in the really good section. I gave that an 8.2 out of 10. Or sorry, 8.3. Cuckoo Clock of Doom was 8.2. Night Living Dummy 3, 8.2. Shocker on Shocker Street, 8.1. Beware the Snowman, 8.1. All right. Number 20 on my list is the book number 45. It's Ghost Camp. I like Ghost. I like camps. You put them together, it's really good, right? Not great, but really good. So brothers Harry and Alex attend Camp Spirit Moon, where Alex, a talented singer, feels out of place, wishing he had gone to music camp instead. Harry is that guy, apparently. He's just like popular dude, like he's buff, whatever. The boys immediately notice strange occurrences, including ghostly campers, icy protoplasm, and eerie campfire tales. Lucy puts her hands on fire. Sam has a pole go through his foot, right? I think the best scene probably in this whole thing is when they're sitting at the campfire and the counselor, I forgot the counselor's name, tells a story about the camp that happened here. And basically kind of gives away like, yeah, everybody who was here, the ghost stuff happened to, and now they're dead and they're ghosts, right? And that's probably the best scene in the book. The ending, they just go through with the ghost, like they end up going on this giant whatever. Let me see, let me read this. There's a fake monster. Ghost, basically to escape, they have to make another person be a ghost. So all the ghosts are fighting over making Alex and Harry ghost, right? They escape, but turns out Elvis, who was like kind of a cooler ghost, he's like, hey, remain silent about his possession in exchange for Harry's secrecy. I don't remember. Basically, Elvis like kind of finessed the system, sure. It was put together really well. I enjoy a camp setting. The ghosts weren't like, like the ending was kind of mid. So you can see it coming, but it's whatever. Number 19 on my list is book number 49, Vampire Breath. So Vampire Breath, I like the cover of it. It's purple, but it's also orangey. It took Stein 49 books to write a vampire book, which I think is a little too long, to be honest with you. So Freddy and Kara like to roughhouse their friends. They knock over a china cabinet. They find a hidden door. It leads them to a hallway. What's this dude's name? Count Nightwing. They wake up Count Nightwing in their house, right? With some vampire breath. And he's like, nah, I need my vampire breath. So he uses the last little bit of it to travel back in time to get more vampire breath. And then they're stuck at this giant medieval castle with a whole bunch of vampires. But they go out and they go hunt at night. So they're big chilling. Count Nightwing's like, look, like, I don't know how to get you back, but like I ain't got fangs right now. So like you're low-key safe for now until I find my vampire breath, right? They try to escape multiple times. Count Nightwing actually saves Freddy from dying. Shout out Count Nightwing. And then this girl, Gwendolyn, tries to help him out, but she's a vampire. She was trying to just get him for themselves. Count Nightwing's not going for that. He beats the hell out of her. And then eventually, like, they find vampire breath and they're playing monkey in the middle between it. And then they open the vampire breath and travel back to their current period. Well, there's no more vampire breath, right? So now they're stuck in this hallway with Count Nightwing without his fangs, though. And they get back to the house and they're like, all right, bet. Like, now we can kind of scram, right? But his mom and Freddy's mom and dad comes in the hall and is like, yo, Grandpa, like, finally you wake up. So it turns out Freddy's entire family are vampires, which I really didn't see coming. It's a nice, like, twist. I like medieval kind of castle type stuff too, and it's the first vampire story, so it was kind of new, which is why I ranked it so high. And then, so Freddy's a werewolf, and then they find the wolf. They find werewolf sweat at the end, sure. What else? Yeah, that's good. It's the same, kind of the same twist as the girl who cried monster at the end, where they figure out they're in fact the monsters / vampires. I do like that twist though. So, Vampire Breath, good enough for me. I think it's really good. Maybe just because the atmosphere, the actual story itself, maybe not maybe the best. This book is the best fun book in the series. Vampire Breath, 8.4 out of 10. I would start considering these ones great books, right? Like A-tier Goosebumps books in terms of like rankings, if S-tier is the best, right? So, You Can't Scare Me. I read this on a plane to Disney World. One of the times we went to Disney World, a long time ago. It's book number 15. So, this is kind of a relatable book, right? So, Eddie, Molly, Charlene, and Hat keep trying to scare Courtney. And I have her, who's basically just the goat, right? So, Courtney is that girl. She's smart. She's pretty. Everybody has a crush on her. But they hate her, right? So, they're literally just haters. Like, this would be like Anna, and Reagan in a book. They just like hate this person just to hate them, right? So they like try to use a rubber snake, a tarantula, a dog. All the plans backfire, right? This is like all a school setting, like which is nostalgic, right? I like school settings. So, whatever. So Eddie's older brother is like doing a reenactment of like the mud men right here. It's in a town, this urban legend. It like gets mentioned a few times of these mud monsters. And then they try to scare Courtney with the mud monsters using his older brother. Turns out it's actually just the real mud monsters, right? And so, like, they're watching the mud monsters approach Courtney and them. And then Eddie's older brother's like, yo, like, who'd y'all get dressed up as the mud monsters? We're right here. We've been waiting for your signal. And they just kind of look at each other like, wait a second. Those are the real ones. So everybody gets scared. Courtney finally gets scared, whatever. They really just were Courtney haters and just fueled by hate. It was fun. It was a really fun one. There was never any real danger. It was just a really fun one. Stakes were kind of low. This was a lot lower. As I was going back and through these, I'm like, I really like this book. It was fun. Definitely underrated in my opinion, because the cover looks trash. I ain't gonna lie. In the event, the cover gets used at the end, but like, I also do like when the covers are actually pertain to what's happening. Number 17 on my list. Again, these are like the A tier ones right here. The Scarecrow Walks at Midnight. This book is one of the more scary ones, actually. Creepy, not scary. Not that I get scared of Goosebumps books, but some of them are a little bit creepy. I don't like the dark. So, Jody and Mark spend their summers with Grandpa Kurt and Grandma M. Don't know what the M stands for. Don't know why I abbreviated that. Basically, Stanley is a 40-year-old who works on the farm. Think George of Mice and Men, right? He's just dumb. And his son Sticks. His son Sticks is smart, though. So everything feels off. And Stanley warns him that scarecrows are alive. Sorry I'm reading this. It's just, I read this so long ago. Scarecrows keep scaring and pranking them. They think it's Sticks pranking them. And Sticks is like, nah, like I promise you it's not me. Eventually, Stanley is like, nah, I'm in control of the scarecrows. He wakes them all up, right? Then the scarecrows are like, I'm not listening to you no more. And so then they chase everybody around the house. They eventually defeat them with fire. So the beginning was kind of slower. The middle was absolutely fantastic, right? Fantastic middle. The ending was all right, but the middle of this book might be some of my favorite chapters of Goosebumps. It was genuinely kind of creepy. And the visuals he puts on are fantastic as well. So that book, also really underrated. I also give that an 8.5 out of 10. So You Can't Scare Me, Scarecrow Walks at Midnight, both 8.5 out of 10. I said at the beginning of the video, I like ghosts, I like camps. I also really like Halloween. So number 16 on my list is Attack of the Jack-o'-lanterns, which is book number 48, which I feel like could definitely have some mixed opinions on it. So Drew loves Halloween, but she's had her last two ruined by Tabitha and Lee, because Tabitha and Lee are like popular rich kids, right? So her and her friends, Shane, Shauna, and Walker, plan an elaborate prank to scare them, right? On Halloween night, Drew, Walker, and Tabitha are lured by two mysterious pumpkin heads who Tabitha and Lee assume are Shane and Shayna, who were twins, right? It was mentioned earlier in the book that fat kids specifically, had been disappearing. Plump maybe was the word. I don't know if R.L. Stine used fat. I mean, what year was this? 1996, he definitely said fat. So, basically the Pumpkinheads leans into a strange street. And even the main characters, Drew and Walker, are like, yo, like, these are actually just aliens. So basically they have these pumpkin heads. They spin around. Eventually they reach a street full of pumpkin heads. The pumpkin heads are telling them to eat candy until they feel very sick. And then Shayna and Shane eventually reveal themselves, and they scare the hell out of Tabitha and Lee. But they also scared Drew and Walker, because they did not know, right? They had no clue this was happening. So, yeah, it was really cool. I love a good Halloween book. But yeah, they are, in fact, like shape-shifting aliens. Shane and Shayna are. They eat fat kids, or fat people, right? And it's literally just, it fooled me. It really did. I did not think the aliens were Shane and Shayna. Like, when they first came about, I was like, oh, it's definitely Shane and Shayna. And then, like, towards the end, I'm like, is this Shane and Shayna? So, in hindsight, looking back on it, I shouldn't have been fooled. But it's just a mix of You Can't Scare Me in terms of, like, they are just absolutely hating on Tabitha and Lee. Except it's kind of, Courtney didn't deserve it. These people deserved it. So yeah, it's a mix of that, the Haunted Mask, and Camp Nightmare with the ending at the end. I like those three books, so this is kind of a mix of all of them, and I like Halloween. So 8.6 out of 10, but I wouldn't be surprised if someone rated that lower. Number 15 on my list is A Night in Terror Tower. So Sue and Eddie are siblings sightseeing in London. This is the first non-American, well, no, this is the first European book. There's the Egyptian books too. They're taking a tour of Terror Tower. They get separated from there. I like this cover, part of the cover. I don't like the yellow. Mom's cat Daisy's going crazy. They discover, they get lost in the Terror Tower. There's this like cloaked man is chasing them with a big axe and is like, hey, come back here, blah, blah, blah. They're like really confused and they're getting chased through tunnels and like they get a taxi ride that's confusing. They find themselves transported back in time, like after they go to a hotel. Turns out they're Prince Edward and Princess Susanna of York, right? Who are the people who got killed in Terror Tower, right? They were supposedly the ones who died in Terror Tower. That's why it's called Terror Tower, these kids that were murdered. Turns out that there's a sorcerer wizard named Morgan, and to escape execution by their treacherous uncle who was killing them for an unjust reason, Morgan sent them in the future. But somehow the executioner saw him do it and then made Morgan send the executioner forward in the same time period they were at, right? Kind of confusing, but I think it's all brought together well. Ultimately, Edward uses the stones to return them to the present, bringing Morgan with them to ensure their safety, and they all decide to start a new life together in modern times. Happy ending. The setting is really cool. He did some cool stuff with time travel, and this was right either before or after I read A Cuckoo Clock of Doom, so he had like 2 time travel books like right there, ready to go. So that's kind of like, it's a good book. It is. I like the setting. It was kind of scary. The stakes were high. So, again, these are like A-tier books. We're not to S-tier yet, I don't think. So, I think these next 2 might be the top of the A-tier for me. I think so. So, next up, number 14 is book number 25, Attack of the Mutant, right? Oh, here comes my mom's cat. Attack of the Mutant. So, this is book number 25. Skipper loves comics. He loves the Masked Mutant comic book, right? We'll get the Daisy Cat out of here. Go get food or something, Daisy Cat. I know you love food. But Skipper loves comics. On a bus one day, he meets Libby, and Libby and him find the secret headquarters of the Masked Mutant. Honestly, the plot of this isn't the best, right? Basically, what's happening in the comic book issue is what's happening in real life to Skipper. They go back and forth. They eventually go to the building to figure it out, and the mutant starts terrorizing Skipper and Libby, right? Libby eventually helps him. However, the real Masked Mutant is actually Libby the whole time, which is a twist I did not see coming. Honestly, good twist. The vibes of this book were really good. This is the first comic book one. I think the only one he wrote. The Masked Mutant's a really good villain. The visuals, her cat's on top of the fridge. The visuals were good. She's gonna get up top on there, isn't she? Okay, Daisy. I'm just gonna let that rock. She'll learn. Skipper outsmarts the mutant eventually and defeats him, but at the end he discovers he is now a comic book. He's like a cut or something, and comic. It's not blood. It's like comic pages coming out of him. I don't know, something weird. But a good book. The plot's just good. The atmosphere is good. I don't have to tell you a reason why I like it. I just liked it. I would have loved for him to write more movies about or books about this. Has like an MCU type vibe. Wow, Daisy's. Wow. We're just gonna keep rolling though. That's what we do. So, yeah, that's the Masked Mutant or the Attack of the Mutant. They should have done more with this character. I feel like they could have done more. Skipper was kind of dumb though. Shout out to Masked Mutant and Libby. Number 13. All right, this is kind of a dumb book, right? I think this is a dumb book. So it's Beast from the East, right? I lost sight of the cat. It's Beast from the East. The cover's great. I liked this book when I was younger, so I had biases going into it. Ginger and her twin brothers, Nat and Pat, are camping. They get lost. Okay, she's coming down. Perfect. Good job, Daisy. Is she gonna make the jump? That's okay, Daisy. You tried. They wander into a weird part of the forest with weird colors. They find these beasts. Turns out there's a big game of tag, kind of. They call it The Game, which is shout out millennials, the game. If you know, you know. You lost, by the way. It's just tag, but it's Flag, Spork, and Glebe. Don't tell them it's a game of tag. They're like, nah, you're playing the game, and if you don't win, you're literally just gonna get eaten by us, which is hilarious, right? and the stakes were high, but it was kind of like a cool like game. They basically just made rules as they went, but like there was rules in place apparently. So the Beasts like eventually win. They put Nat in the penalty cage. Pat just is lost from the jump, right? They don't know where Pat went. So Ginger and Nat are like trying to get after it. Ginger eventually tricks and tags Spork while Nat is in the penalty cage. She runs into Pat and eventually they hide with Squirrel Dog in a cave full of bugs. This book is unserious. The Beasts get to eat them, but they realize they performed a classic clone when Pat shows back up, which means they're level 3 players, not level 1 players, and they can't eat them, right? It was a fun story with actual consequences. It didn't take itself serious. I just thought the names were funny, and I just kept on finding funny they would like make these random rules up. At the end, like the level 3 Beasts are like, yeah, you're gonna play with us now. So like cliffhanger or whatever. So yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. I'm going to take another quick break and drink some water real quick, actually. Okay, last little home stretch right here. So, Beast from the East, 8.8 out of 10. Attack of the Mutant, 8.7 out of 10, right? Is there more? I guess there's more light. The sun is moving. Sorry if there's a glare or anything. It'd be all right. I think now, so I think there's S tier and there's S plus, right? Or these all can just be an A. So next up is a book that is underrated, I think. That is Phantom of the Auditorium. This was ranked higher at one point. It really was. I moved it down because realistically the story is not the most groundbreaking, honestly. So Brooke and Zeke are best friends. They don't take nothing serious, right? Then a new play is happening, but they're like, no, we should try to take this serious, right? The Phantom is the play, and it's a curse play, but they're all about it, right? Like, Zeke gets the Phantom position, Brooke gets a position in it. Brian pops up as the new student. He's quite obviously the student who died in the old play. It's not hard to figure that out. Nobody believes the curse is real. Zeke gets in big trouble. Oh, there's my sister. Zeke gets in huge trouble and eventually has to, like, maybe not even play. He gets in trouble with this. I forgot why he got in trouble. But basically, the Phantom is Brian, who died in the play 72 years ago. And it's like there's a hatch that drops to the bottom of the stage, like, and there's an underground tunnel. At the end of it, so during the I did describe this terribly. There's a janitor named Emily. He catches them like using that long tunnel, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll scram. I'm a night janitor, right?" And they're like, "Nah, Emily's the Phantom. Obviously, it's Brian. We're not stupid here." But turns out Emily is a character who is homeless, living under the theater in the school. That's scarier than the ghost. Like, there's a homeless man living in the school. I don't know, but I took theater in high school. I really enjoyed theater class. So I did enjoy the atmosphere of this book a lot. The atmosphere carried here. The actual story is kind of like mid. Yeah, you know how it's going to end up, except for the janitor being like actually a homeless guy underground. Didn't see that coming. So, but it kind of made sense. So the cover's cool. It's just good vibes, good theming. Actually, A tier. This doesn't deserve S tier. It really doesn't. So I rated that a 9 out of 10 though. So that's my first 9. I might change that to 8.9. No, I'm keeping it 9. I loved it. The atmosphere was good. That's one of the ones that I loved, and I don't have to answer anybody about it. Well, here comes my sister. Hello, Anna.
Hey, Stevie.
Hello.
Hello.
Would you like to say hi to the camera? I'm currently ranking all 62 original Goosebumps books.
Yes. I want to do a haul of what's in my bag.
Well, I have
First of all,
I have 6 gigabytes left on my phone.
bread.
Bread.
Second of all, marshmallow cream.
Dang,
of all,
you're fat.
Peanut butter.
And healthy.
Thank you. I'll be back down to do something with this. I'm going upstairs.
All right, we got this. I'll move that over. Yeah, all right, so number 11 on my list is The Haunted Mask 2. Book number 36. So Steve and Chuck were side characters in the first one who liked to scare. Maybe I need to tilt this down a little bit more. who like to scare Carly Beth, right? And they're like, they got scared last time by Carly Beth and her haunted mask, and they're like, man, we really want one of those masks. So they asked Carly Beth, like, hey, give us the mask. And Carly Beth's like, nah, like, or tell us where to find the mask. And they're like, nah. And then eventually Carly Beth tells them and is like, screw off, Steve. And Carly Beth tells them where to find it. The store shut down. They sneak in and steal one, right? This book it's low-key scary. He wants to scare his like second grade soccer players who keep on getting on his nerves, right? He wants to do it in a harmless way by getting a mask, right? So Halloween night, first graders, not second graders, he meets the first graders to try to scare them with this mask. And the last one, the mask was mean, but this one, the mask is old. So consistently after he puts the mask on, his body just continues to grow old. He can't get the mask off. Eventually he gets so old he can't physically get it off of him. And the first graders take him to Carly Beth. And Carly Beth was like, nah, like, you just got to do an act of love to get it off, right? And then there's no acts of love around. So they go back to the score, and this is why I don't like it as much as the first one. The mask just floats off his head, and the mask finds a suit that matches, right? So it's like a full ghost kind of thing, and I don't know. And then it floats away. And then, but Chuck scares them with like a werewolf mask or something, implying like that mask is going to be stuck on him. So yeah, the atmosphere, again, Halloween is great. He had a reason to get a mask. He wanted to scare his first graders in like a harmless way because he didn't like them. But kind of just like, it was really good up until like the last little bit with the ending. It probably would be higher if it wasn't for the ending. At this point, you have to be like, the end. I'm a sucker for endings. The ending has to be like elite. The story just has to be really complete. And the story was really complete, and the ending was not elite. So I would say this is probably an S tier book, though. I think this is where it starts entering that phase of being S tier. I do like the cover as well. So again, Halloween, love a Halloween book. So I'm running out of room in my bin. Number 10 on my list. We're in the top 10. That was 9.1 out of 10. In my top 10, coming in at a 9.2. Number 10 on my list, book number 50. Calling All Creeps. So basically there's this kid named Ricky, and he wants to get his revenge on Tasha. Shout out my old babysitter. Tasha is an 8th grader in charge of the school newspaper who pretty much just hates Ricky. And honestly, after like spending a good amount of time with, I don't like Ricky that much either at the beginning. Ricky tries to prank Tasha by like calling all creeps, call this number, and puts Tasha's number in the newspaper. Tasha obviously picks up on it. And later that night, or later the next day, you know, kids are calling all creeps, like, where are we meeting? While whispering, all this different type of stuff. And so he goes to school the next day, but the people who pick on Ricky aren't picking on him this time, right? And then after school, Ricky has a friend. What's Ricky's friend's name? What's Ricky's friend's name? Ricky's friend has a name. Let's just call her Sarah. It's not Sarah. What's her name? The book's right in front of me. Oh man, I can't. What book is it? Oh man, whatever. They're basically just calling him all the time. His parents wake up. That pisses me off. I can't find it. Calling all creeps characters. So Ricky, I'm figuring this out real quick. Sorry. Iris. So Iris is like Ricky's friend. Basically, he keeps on getting these calls. His parents keep on getting pissed at him. So now he has a bad home life, and now he has a bad school life. But the kids stop bullying him. So Wart, Brenda, David, and Jared drag him into the woods. And they're like, Commander, we've been waiting for you to say stuff. Blah, blah, blah. Like, it's time to strike. Like, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, what y'all talking about? Like, y'all just pranking me. And then they turn into these purple things. They turn into creeps, and they're like, Commander, like, the time is now. We have to plant these seeds, the identity seeds. And then they make a plan to plant the identity seeds in the lunchroom. But Ricky puts them all in the macaroni and cheese because nobody eats the macaroni and cheese. And the identity seeds would turn all of them into creeps, right? But yeah, it didn't work. And then the creeps get suspicious of, Ricky. And Ricky's like, I'm not going to change. I'm not going to turn into a creep in front of you. Like, I don't need to do that. And Iris is like, I'm second commander. Like, you need to do that. Iris saw them go into the woods and change all these different types of animals or whatever. So Iris also isn't a creep, but like is like second in command now. And so they're like, all right, we're making these identity seeds into the cookies into the bake sale that's happening this weekend. And then at the bake sale, Ricky's like, nobody eat these free cookies because they're going to turn you into monsters. And then the creeps are like, yeah, everybody's going to just do the opposite of what Ricky says. Good plan. And then Ricky's like, man, and the creeps are like, they're going to be your slaves because you're the commander. And Ricky's like, oh, really? Is that the case? So actually a super satisfying ending because everyone treated badly except for Iris. And everybody pretty much gets turned into a creep and has to listen to, that part doesn't happen, but you know, it's definitely implied that it happens. And everybody has to listen to Iris and Ricky now. Is it the best thing? No, probably shouldn't happen. You probably shouldn't turn people into scary monsters. But man, Ricky needed something to go his way. He really did. So it was just great vibes all around. Kind of creepy. Stakes were a little bit high. Not for Ricky. But it's not very often you just have like a ending like that where like the bad guys could kind of win. So I thought it was good. The bad guys win without like a twist ending. So number 9 on my list is what I think the scariest book in the series, or the creepiest, Curse of Camp Cold Lake. Again, this is a ghost story at a camp. I like ghost stories and I like camps. So Sarah Maas is reluctant to go to Camp Cold Lake with her brother Aaron, who ends up going. So Sarah struggles to fit in. She's kind of just like socially stupid. Aaron is that guy though. Aaron fits into everybody. He's that guy. He has a great time at camp. But there's like a series of pranks where Sarah like gets pranked by like they put a snake on her, and then Sarah like puts spiders in the kids' beds. Brianna, Meg, and Jan, and then eventually like everybody hates Jan there, right? Everybody hates Sarah there. And Aaron like keeps on trying to talk to her. It's not that bad. Like, don't run away. Blah blah blah. And then she drowned herself on purpose for sympathy. This girl is crazy. Sarah is an interesting character. I don't hate her because some of the stuff that happened really wasn't her fault. She kind of just gets bullied by these mean girls anyways. But at the same time, like what? She didn't help herself. Drowning for sympathy, what are we doing? So when she's drowning, she sees Delilah, or Della, sorry, not Delilah. Delilah is the ghost. Maybe that's why I thought it was scary from the one, whatever, scary movie. A scary movie. Can't see me? I don't know. Talking about dark. It's a dark movie of like when the lights go off, it's scary. So yeah, then Della like starts following her around and like she kind of sees Della everywhere, and Della's making it a big deal like don't come in the lake, right? Turns out, Sarah realizes that Della's eventual spirit, but eventually she finds out because Della told her that the lake isn't haunted at all. Actually, the woods just have a whole bunch of snakes. So her whole plan was to divert her from going to the lake to try to run away, to go into the woods to get bit by a poisonous snake so they could be friends forever, be buddies forever, right? And then all of a sudden Brianna pops out and was like, go away, Della, like, go away, basically. And Brianna's like, nah, I know Della, she's a ghost, blah, 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 like, don't trust her. And then Brianna's like, whew, be my buddy forever. Turns out Della killed Brianna last summer, and Brianna's just kind of mobbing still, which is it's a great twist. Fantastic twist. And then Brianna like chases Sarah with the snake at the end. This was probably the scariest book. It had great atmosphere. The twist ending I didn't see coming too much, honestly. Everything was pretty much perfect besides the ending, which is tough to say because I'm such an ending person. I really just wish that since the book was so scary, I kind of wish Sarah just would have died. Or drowned or something. I really wish it would have done more with the lake. The lake was a red herring, which is what it was supposed to be, and it tricked me. But I didn't want to be tricked in that one. I wanted it to go the way I wanted it to go. So if I would have wrote it, I think I would have finished it better. 9.3 out of 10. Next up, we got a really good atmosphere for this book. It's called The Headless Ghost. On top of the cover being absolutely elite in terms of the color scheme with pink and purple, the book is actually good too. So Dwayne and Stephanie, they love haunting kids in the neighborhood, right? And they love taking tours at the Hill House. They get the bright idea to find the headless ghost at the Hill House, right? So the headless ghost was a kid. I don't remember. He got his head chopped off, right? That's the gist of it. There's a ghost haunting. It's a headless ghost. They get lost. Otto eventually finds them, and then they leave, but they're met by a young boy named Andrew. And Andrew convinces them to come back the next night to help find the head, and they do. Andrew's not, at the time, it's like pretty much implied Andrew's the ghost, but the kids are like, nah, he's not a ghost. He's just a little dude. And they'll eventually Andrew like locks them in the house and like tells them he's the headless ghost. So they try to run. They run down this long hallway, and then Andrew's like, got you now. And then a wall gets knocked down. Like they push something in the wall, and the wall just collapses, right? And when the wall collapses, the real headless ghost appears and finds his head and is like, oh, finally. And then he floats off into heaven, right? Didn't see that coming. And on top of that, turns out Andrew is actually Otto's nephew named Seth. So it was basically a ghost story in a mansion. All the vibes were so good. And the twist was good. And it cuts later on to months after it happened, right? And they want to take a tour of the Hill House for old time's sake with Otto and Edna. They're stopped by the cops and they're like, hey, this house has been abandoned and shut down for months, pretty much since the last time they went in it. And they look back at the house to see Otto and Edna in ghost form. Cinema. It was really good. 2 twist endings in this book. Ghost stories are great. I love mansions. Yeah, all around good vibes. The story was complete all the way through. There's really no holes in this book. It did some things exceptionally well. The atmosphere was exceptional. I really enjoyed the characters. I did not enjoy Andrew/Seth that much. I also thought the middle portion of the book a tiny bit redundant, and that's okay because the rest of it was great. I'm being nitpicky here. 9.4 out of 10. Number 8 on my rankings. Book number 37. Right. Number 9 was Curse of Coldclimb Lake. That was book number 56. Calling All Creatures is book number 50. Haunted Mask 2, book 36. I think I said that. So yeah, I thought definitely I would like the books more towards the beginning, but they're kind of spread out everywhere, right? So again, for example, number 7 on my list is actually book number 60. I just read this one. Werewolf Skin. So Alex, that's my name, moves in with his aunt and uncle to a small town of Wolf Creek. The neighbors are the Marlings, right? And Alex wants to take a picture and capture a spooky image. This is like in the woods. This is a small town in the woods. He wants to get a spooky image for a Halloween contest to win at his house, or his home, right? His aunt and uncle tell him to avoid the Marlings' house, which like he does, but like he sees them, he's like sees some crazy things happening. He escapes one night to go get his camera. Not escapes, he wants to go find his camera, and he sees werewolves, and he's like, oh hell. And then his aunt and uncle are like, nah, it's not werewolves, I don't know what you're talking about. And then Alex ventures out. Yeah. Alex investigates further. And him and his friend Hannah are like, nah, these gotta be werewolves. That has to be werewolves. One night he sneaks out and he captures proof, but his aunt and uncle are the real werewolves. So I thought the entire time that, I don't know what I thought. That's like such an easy twist to see. But I just thought, like, I don't know what I thought, honestly. That's just such an easy twist to see. So, with Hannah's help, Alex steals her wolf skins, so they can't become a werewolf without their wolf skins. And this effectively broke the curse, right? So again, storyline is kind of basic, but it's a good werewolf story, and the atmosphere is great. The ending at the end was a twist that I absolutely love, right? So at the end, Hannah goes into Marling's house with him to like, just like goodbye Marling's house. I don't know why, I forgot. And Hannah's like, I don't want to go in there. Because once they see, so it turns out Hannah's a werewolf. Once they see the werewolf skins, they really can't control it. So Alex basically forces her in there. She's a werewolf. She puts on her werewolf skin. She bites Alex. That's a fantastic ending. A one where, a lot of these endings have like cliffhanger endings or whatever. They don't actually go all in on it, like the being scary part. This one did. I really appreciate R.L. Stine for, having Alex get bit by a werewolf. I put similar to Ghost Beach with a better twist ending. I'm not sure why I said that. I'm not entirely sure why I said that. Maybe because it's like in Ghost Beach, they don't want to go to the cave. Number 6 on my list is number 33, The Horror of Camp Jelly Jam. In terms of overall plot, this might be better than some of the ones above it, right? I just don't like the monster with this one. So the beginning, Wendy and Elliot get separated from their parents after their trailer unhitches and goes down the side of a mountain. Hello. Like, cops or something, bro. I don't know. They go to this camp called King Jelly Jam Sports Camp. Camp counselor named Buddy is there, right? The camp enforces only the best slogan. So Elliot's all about it. Elliot loves sports, and he's good at them. So he starts winning these tokens. Basically, once you earn 6 coins, you earn coins by winning competitions. You get to go on the winner's walk, where you walk or something, right? So there was like a point system, which is really intricate for like this small of a book. And Wendy's like in the swimming competition, is gonna win, and then she stops because like she feels bad because her friend next to her really wanted to win this one. So she stops, and her counselor's like, "Don't ever do that again." And Wendy's like, "It's really not that serious," but like the counselor's like, "It's that serious." So turns out this is where I don't like it as much, right? King Jelly Jam is a massive stench-ridden purple blob monster, right? All the kids who were like winners, their walk is to walk to this like underground building cave where their entire job is to just clean this purple glob. And they have the best athletes go down there to do it so they don't get tired doing it. Because if they get tired, they get eaten. And Wendy eventually figures this out and leads the children to stop cleaning King Jelly Jam, causing the creature to suffocate in his own odor and melt away. That's a good way to kill it. Wear deodorant, but I didn't like the monster that much. But the atmosphere of this book was absolutely fantastic. It was creepy. You didn't know where it was going. I knew where it was going because I knew the ending. But they're reunited with their parents. And weeks later, Buddy visits Elliot to give his 6th king coin. And ends up like being Brussels sprouts smelling, whatever. So I thought this one was really good. It kind of looks like Anna.
Thank you.
So, yeah, that's my thoughts on that one.
My eyes would never be that wide open.
That's true. You wouldn't be smiling that big either. But yeah, I was going to say something about this. I like the atmosphere of it a whole lot. The plot was really complete. I wish they would have made it a different monster. 9.5 out of 10. All right, top 5 S tier books. All right, number 5, we have Ghost Beach, number 22 on the list. Or number 22, the 22nd book in the series. I like the cover a whole lot as well. Kind of eerie. It's a ghost book. So Jerry and Terry move with their grandparents to live on the beach the last month of summer, right? Basically, Sam, Louisa, and Nat mention a ghost, but won't go in detail about it. And they're kind of scared. They won't give them a whole lot of information. And then Jerry and Terry ask Brad and Agatha about their grandparents, Brad and Agatha, about it. And they won't say anything either. And there's a cave on top of like at the corner of the beach, on top of a cliff. And they eventually go there, and then like the ghost tells the quote unquote ghost in the cave tells them that he's actually a human and that Sam, Louisa, and Nat are ghosts. And then they go to a gravesite to confirm, yes, Sam, Louisa, and Nat are ghosts. And then they lure Sam, Louisa, and Nat to the cave where the ghost, actually his name is Harrison. I guess Harrison dog forced into the cave when they die. I don't remember this book. Yeah, I don't care if you use the microwave. But yeah. I don't know. The atmosphere, I like ghost stories. Especially at the end, as Brad and Agatha are also ghosts. You kind of know eventually that they're ghosts. But the vibes of this are really good. I don't think it's that much better than Horror at Camp Jelly Jam, even though I have it a 9.6, 9.5 out of 10. Maybe I would put this one lower. Maybe I would, but I really like the atmosphere of this one. It's the only like beach one too. Urban legend type of things I also enjoy. So yeah, I think this is number 5, but it probably should be lower, but I'm not going to change it. So that's Ghost Beach. Number 4 on my list has the first really good, the second really good twist ending. That's Welcome to Camp Nightmare. Again, I talked about how I enjoyed camps earlier, maybe because I never went to one as a kid, but I enjoyed this one a whole bunch. So Billy travels to Camp Night Moon, where he meets his fellow campers and encounters strange and frightening events. So, like, different things are happening. They think this, like, creature is, like, stalking everything, but, like, campers are disappearing, whatever. Basically people were disappearing left and right, and Billy's trying to uncover the truth. He eventually finds letters that were supposed to be sent out to everybody's parents that had not been sent out. So he realized that he's probably in danger here, right? And Billy is asked to hunt down 2 campers who escaped, and absolutely refuses to eventually. But soon after that, he actually passes the test. So this entire camp was actually set for Billy to pass this test set up by a scientist's parents. The entire experience was a government test orchestrated by his parents. He learns that he passed all the tests and will join his parents on an expedition to a nearby planet named Earth, revealing they are from another planet. So the first, like, alien type of reveal, Uncle Al is the person who hunts him down, or, like, tells Billy to hunt the counselors down, his friends. So, again, I read this so long ago, it really is hard to remember. I read this 2.5 years ago, all the details. But yeah, I remember it being really good. The best camp book, I think, out of all of them by far. Welcome to Camp Nightmare. Twist ending was fantastic at the end, too. It was the first time R.L. Stine did that type of twist ending. So at that point when I was reading it, it hadn't gotten old. Now it's old. Number 3 on that was 9.7 out of 10. Number 3 on my list, The Girl Who Cried Monster, which is number 8 book overall. The Welcome to Camp Nightmare and The Girl Who Cried Monster can easily flip, right? Welcome to Camp Nightmare was more suspenseful mystery. This was just more creepy, right? I think it had a better twist ending as well. So Lucy loves to tell monster stories to her little brother Randy, and eventually discovers the librarian, Mr. Morton's a real monster. So she basically has to go to summer reading camp because she didn't do good in reading classes. So she spends a lot of time with Mr. Morton, forgets her books one day, and then goes back to Mr. Morton's, like, library, and, like, dude is a monster eating, like, snails and, like, turtles and stuff, right? And then she's like, yo, Aaron, who's her best friend, she's like, this is a monster. And they go to her parents, and, like, eventually after the scary stuff, it's just a really good... I knew the twist ending, and I liked it when I was little. The vibes of this one are good. Eventually, Mr. Mormon goes over to dinner with her parents, and Lucy's freaked out because, like, oh my gosh, a monster's at dinner with us. He's going to eat us. Well, it turns out Lucy's parents are actually monsters, and they just eat Mr. Mortman for dinner, which is kind of funny because I didn't like Mr. Mortman. So, it was it was like a really good twist ending, and I don't know, the vibe just reminded me of, like, it's set in one neighborhood on, like, 2 streets, and it was just fun, like, to imagine running around, and there's, like, little monster, there's a librarian. I don't know. I just liked it. I don't have to give you a reason. Now, these last 2 books, I don't know if people know them or not by now. These last 2 books, I think, are in a class of their own by far. I would actually consider these good books. The other ones, like, are, like, you know, they're kids' books, and they're good, but I would consider these 2 actual good books that I would read again. And Girl Cry Monster is 9.7. But coming in at 9.9, number 2 on the list, book number 59, is going to be The Haunted School. So, I'll just read this description. 12-year-old Tommy Frazier moves to a new town and volunteers to help decorate for a school dance because he has no friends and he struggles to make friends. So, he meets his friend named Talia and Benjamin, right? So, Talia and Benjamin are also in this club for the school dance to do everything. They told him to go get paint, and turns out the high school, or the middle school or elementary school is in, connected to another elementary or middle school that's old, right? From the 1940s. So, he finds, like, these mannequins of 25 students who vanished in 1947, right? Which is kind of scary. These kids randomly vanished. And so, I'm trying to get Bell Valley Middle School is the name. The reason he wrote this book is because kids asked him to write a book about their school. So, that's kind of cool, I think. Basically, these 25 students randomly disappeared. And then they boarded up the old school, put it next to the new school. New school went into the old school, next to the old school, right? Never found these kids. And so this dude, Tommy, starts hearing voices occasionally, like, help me, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, that's tough. relatable. So eventually he's like, man, I be hearing these things. And Talia's like, who? And then something about Greta too. Talia always puts on makeup, and then Greta has like gray eyes, and like she's kind of just mean to everybody. But eventually it's the night of the school dance. So like after Greta and Talia fight and like Tommy helps, it's the night of the school dance. And him and Benjamin, or Ben, I guess, are looking for some, like, Tommy's trying to look for something, but is like, hey, I know the way, follow me. Takes them to the old school. They go on this elevator, right? It transports them back to Grey World, which is a dimension where everything is black and white. There, they meet Seth, Cortez, and 4 other lost students there, right? And they reveal what happened to them. So what happened to these students was there was a photographer named Mr. Chameleon, and Mr. Chameleon hated these students, so he took a picture of them. It's funny his name is Mr. Chameleon. We'll point that out, by the way. He took a picture of these students that was so bright that it transported them into a different dimension, which is a little bit dumb. That's like the point 1 I'm taking off. I wish that would have been a tiny bit better. But, so basically just stuck in this gray world, right? And so like their fingertips start turning gray, whatever, and they're trying to find their way back, and Seth and them are like, nah, like, they're like, good luck. Like, good luck trying to get your way back. And so like, all right, we're dipping. We're going to leave the school then, screw off. And they're like, nah, the others are finna find you. And they're like, the others? Better than being in here? Not so much. So they go out. Turns out there's 20 students who left the school and have formed their own cult. And they're basically just wild savages, right? Like, don't really be speaking English. They kind of just be chanting. And every single night they cover themselves with black, like, they go to a black pit, right? They go to a black pit and cover themselves with black stuff every single night. It's like tar is what I'm imagining. And they they absolutely hate Tommy and Ben because they have color. So like they're just terrorizing them, right? They eventually capture them, and they want to take them to the black pit in like one of us situation. Eventually Seth and co come and like try to fight them. 20 versus 6. Who's gonna win? The savages, right? Well, then Tommy remembers he has a lighter, so he lights that hoe up, right? And he just has the light, which scares everybody because they haven't seen color in forever. The light is pretty bright, so they get kind of scared. They run away, bro. Like, they are gone. And so all of them go back to the school, right? And then they get back to the school, and they're like, man. And they're like, all 20 of them, yeah. Like, all 20 of those kids are crazy. And then they start doing math. They're like, 4. They're like, isn't there supposed to be 25 missing students? They're like, yeah, one of them actually escaped not too recently. And they're like, bro, like, why didn't you say something like that, bro? And then the elevator goes. Talia comes back, right? Talia comes back. And she's like, yo, I couldn't figure out a way to get back to y'all, but I eventually figured it out. Just waiting for a good moment to. Talia was one of the student that came back. She put on makeup all the time because she was gray, which is very good storytelling. So she told them that the only way she got back to or out of Grey World is she had lipstick she had in her purse, and she hadn't touched it in forever. She was just playing with it, right? And she opened it up, and it still had color. And she was like, oh my gosh, I see color. And she just started drawing on the walls because, like, it was red. She wanted to see color. And then the wall opened up to, like, go into the other world. So she, like, goes in, when it seals right off behind her. And she's like, hell, like, how am I supposed to get back? Eventually she does get back, of course. But while she's there, she's like, yo, like, low-key, bro, like, we might just be better off and stuck in Grey World forever because that was trash because she got bullied all the time. And she was like, we don't fit in there, which, like, low-key, if I was gray and white and black, like, with no color, it'd be hard to fit in with the world of color. So, yeah, which I disagree with. So then they come back, Talia writes the square, they step through, she comes back, or they come back, and it's like a group picture, and then Tommy and Ben get back to the dance, class picture, Mr. Chameleon's taking the picture, camera flashes, that's the ending. So the creepy school vibes and the mystery aspect of it were absolutely fantastic. It was like the Twilight Zone kind of thing. It reminded me of the Backrooms. There's a lot of books that he writes where he genuinely doesn't know where he wants to take the book, and the plot is just very basic. This book right here, this is probably the most cohesive, complex what's it called, plot of the entire thing. I genuinely didn't know how this was going to end. Genuinely. Eventually, I figured out Talia was in fact the missing student because I was doing math, right? As they I'm like, all right, there's 4. That means there's 20 other ones somewhere, or 21 other ones somewhere. And when they said 20, I'm like, somebody's missing. So it's either Greta or Talia. And eventually, after using my noggin, I'm like, it's definitely Talia. Greta's just a red herring. So, absolutely phenomenal. Book number 59. I didn't expect to have a banger this late. And I hope the Series 2000 books are kind of like this. And this and Werewolf Skin were just like a kind of a preview of what the Series 2000 books are like. So I was really surprised by this book. Absolutely loved it. So, and with that being said, our time together is coming to an end. The number 1 Goosebumps book in the original series, maybe of all time, was The Haunted Mask. This book, I read it in like 20 minutes, it feels like. Carly Beth, probably the best main character in the series, bro. She is such a good character. Steve and Chuck from The Haunted Mask 2 are in there. She wants to get back at them from scaring her all the time. She gets a scary mask, buys one. It's super scary and realistic. The mask ends up being alive. She scares Steve and Chuck, but she scares herself too. Now she's freaked out. She goes back to the store and get help. The man says only an act of love will get it off. The rest of the masks wake up to get rid of them. She finds a sculpture of her head her mom made her and puts it on, and all is well again. So she wanted a really scary mask to scare Steve and Chuck. Her mom made her homemade like mask or something, or mannequin sculpture of her head. And earlier in the book, Carly Beth was like, bro, like, it's kind of lame, but like, thanks. I promise it's just a cat. See? But, so yeah, it's a Halloween movie or book, kind of like ghostly. I don't know. When you think Goosebumps, like, this is the book you should be thinking of. And I think this is like the epitome of it. It's 10 out of 10. Like, 0 flaws in this book. Like, The Haunted School, like, is it kind of random that Mr. Chameleon is alive, like, 50 years later and taking pictures still and nobody caught him? It's a little weird, right? That's my point 1. This book, is it a little weird that there's just a random store with masks? Yeah, but, like, the store had, like, a back room with, like, an obviously evil guy. Bless you, Daisy. So, yeah, this is just, I mean, even my book is, like, beat up. So this is, like, probably my worst, the book's in the worst condition out of any of the books I have. If you notice, all of them were original covers, too. I like to point that out. So, yeah, that's my ranking. Haunted Mask, the epitome of Goosebumps. Carly Beth, one of the best characters. Steve and Chuck, some of the best side characters. One of the best messages of any of the Goosebumps books. Not that I care about that too much. I mentioned that earlier. But just all around fantastic. Even the sequel was really good. There's not a whole lot of sequels in this that I like a whole bunch. This was fantastic. So yeah, I'll probably get to you in like 2 years when I rate the Series 2000 books, when I eventually read them. Who knows? So yeah, that's the end of my rankings. Thank you all for watching. And thank you, Reagan, for sitting here and watching 3 hours of this.